Welcome to the Inspiring Marriages Podcast. We are Jeff and Teresa Fields, and the music you heard at the beginning was all composed and recorded by our son, Joseph Taylor Fields.
We have been happily married for 32 years. We have 3 grown children, one wonderful son-in-law, and a precious grandbaby.
As we share our story, our desire is to inspire couples to build their friendships and thus build their marriages in all areas, spiritually, emotionally, romantically, and physically.
So you can go to our webpage, inspiringmarriages.net, and there you can access all of our previous episodes, including the show notes. Below each episode, there's a Keep in Touch section, or below the episodes, there is a Keep in Touch section, and there you can sign up to receive our latest offerings for free. And right now we're calling it our Friendship Builders.
Right. You can download that Friendship Builder and keep it on your refrigerator, on your phone. Mm-hmm. Check it off as you go. Teresa, we've been talking about courtship for a while now. Mm-hmm. So we're going to continue to talk about courtship. And we defined courtship before. It's a period where a man and a woman dedicate themselves to learn more about each other, right, and to seek God's will together to determine if it's God's will for them to get married.
That's right. That's so important. And that includes prayer too. You know, talking about things, as we've been saying in previous episodes, and praying, but not spending a whole lot of time alone praying. You have to be a little cautious with that, not too much time alone praying. So we have some new scriptures to share this week.
Right. So these are dealing with, red flags this week will be dealing with integrity and codependency. So this scripture here we found about integrity is found in Proverbs 10:9. The honest person will live in safety, but the dishonest, those who twist their path, will be caught or found out.
Wow.
So it's really saying that an honest person walks securely and straight, but a dishonest person, their path is twisted and crooked.
That's right. That's right. That's really powerful.
Right. And a good definition of integrity is when you're alone, you would act as just if you were out in public. You would act if the same if even no one ever found out.
Right. If no one ever knew about what you were doing. Yes. That is so good. And that's a really good check for our soul, you know, to see if we're really living along those guidelines. That's so good. So we have another one that has to do with integrity, and this is from Ephesians chapter 4. It's verse 25, and we really like this in the Passion Translation. Yes. And if you haven't heard of that, there are several books of the Bible translated in this way, and you can just search for it on your Bible app or online. You can find the Passion Translation for many books of the Bible now. So this one is talking about dishonesty and lying. So that's a big area in integrity, right? There shouldn't be any dishonesty, right?
So if you're acting falsely, it's also lying.
Yes,
lying is not just words.
Not just words. That's so good.
It's pretending in your actions, and integrity, pretending in your thoughts.
Your attitudes.
And your attitudes, right.
Have we ever pretended, well, we will probably get into that, have we ever pretended to have an attitude when it really wasn't how we thought and felt about something? Wow. So this verse says, so discard every form of dishonesty and lying so that you will be known as one who always speaks the truth. For we all belong to one another. And that's in the context of we're all members in the body of Christ if we're believers. And so much more, your behavior and your attitudes and what you say, the things you are thinking and doing, they are going to affect other people. We can try to kid ourselves that, this is just affecting me, and that's something that a lot of people tell themselves, but it's never true.
That is so true. And this verse says, because we belong to each other, and that's really talking about the body of Christ belonging to each other, but even more true in a courtship relationship,
or engagement,
or engagement,
and especially marriage.
The ultimate is marriage.
Ultimately, yes, marriage.
You want to be known as a person who speaks the truth.
Yes.
You never want to get the reputation of someone who speaks dishonestly.
No.
Your spouse has to be able to trust you. If you're in courtship, your friend, your boyfriend, girlfriend has to be able to trust you. They should not ever be a question in their mind, is Jeff telling the truth?
Right.
That should never come up. So do not live in dishonesty.
Exactly.
You will be
That's
found
so
out.
Good. Mm-hmm. Yes, and that's what that verse said in Proverbs 10:9. You will be found out. That's so true. It's going to tell on you sooner or later. You know, you can only tell lies for so long, and then it catches up to you.
Your character will come out.
Yeah, and the true character will show. Yes.
And if you're walking in love and the spirit in honesty, in total honesty, that will come out also.
Yes, exactly. Yes, we'll have a lot more to share down the road about things like this. Oh, that's so good.
So last week we shared about 6 red flags in relationships, and today most of these red flags dealing with integrity. So the first red flag that we have.
Oh, here we go.
That one keeps pushing the boundaries, especially physically. Now, it doesn't necessarily has to be the male pushing the boundaries towards the female.
That's
it could be the
true.
female pushing the boundaries of what's really acceptable, what's been agreed to. You should, I think you should talk about this. No, we will kiss and no more, or if you kiss. And we know people who haven't kissed until
their wedding day. Yes, that's powerful.
That's powerful. So, but that's just integrity.
Restraint. Yes,
Right.
that's a lot of integrity.
Right.
That's
So,
beautiful.
Teresa, why do you think that is? That some people keep wanting to push the boundaries of, especially physically. Why do you think that's such a problem? And is it a problem?
Oh, it really can be, especially if one person is really trying to save themselves for marriage and they have this, dedication to living up to purity, and not everybody that you're thinking of dating or you end up dating is going to have the same standard of purity that you would have. Or it could be that you're the one who doesn't have a high standard of purity and the other person does. But pushing those boundaries, it really breaks down trust.
Wow, that is so good.
That would make the other person feel like, well, I can't trust you because you're letting your emotions or letting your passions dictate your actions instead of restraining yourself the way I want to restrain myself, and wait until we're either engaged to actually increase anything or actually be married to go.
That's to keep being
like
married.
You said,
Right.
to be fully physically active. That's it's not acceptable except in
So
marriage.
you should talk about when you integrate that. I mean, as certainly petting I think that's out of bounds.
Right.
And you really need to set a boundary how much hugging or kissing you're going to do.
Because you start breaking down someone's inhibitions,
Right.
and it's easy to get carried away. Then
Right.
when you're both allowing more and more, you can get carried away, and it has happened to people.
Our belief
well-meaning.
is petting and is out of bounds for unless you're in marriage.
Right.
So that's our belief. That's how we believe.
That's right.
Yeah. So if even if it's the boyfriend pressuring the girlfriend, how is she going to? And he says, "I can't help it." How is she going to trust him? He's on a business trip. He can't help it.
That's so true.
One of the fruit of the spirit is self-control.
Self-control. That's what I wanted to say. Like, I don't want to give it away too soon.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but exactly. And there are other boundaries too. Like we talked about this some last week. Expecting the other person to spend all their time with you,
Right.
pushing those boundaries of having a balance in their life.
Right.
Well, you don't need to go see your parents. You need to spend time with me. It starts pushing those boundaries of what you accepted or what you thought you accepted together as this is how much we're going to spend time together during the week or in a month or whatever it is.
Right.
Right. So you want me to cover the second one? Okay. Wow, this sounds a lot like the first one in just a different manifestation of someone who's not controlling their passions or their desires. If one person wants to live as if they're not attached, they're not in a relationship that you would call serious, so they're not considering the other person's viewpoint when they're making decisions, like, oh, I took another job. You see this in the movies sometimes. Oh, I took a job up in New York, and the other person's, well, hey, we talked about this, and we're not leaving this town. And it's so much like what we were mentioning before. Or, making any decisions. Well, I'm going to spend the holidays with my family by myself. Hey, what about the person you said you wanted to possibly marry? Are they just going to be left out in the cold? I mean, not considering their viewpoint. I'm just trying to give some far-fetched examples.
Right. It's just someone who just makes a decision.
It does actually happen.
without considering the other person. A big purchase or a house or moving somewhere and just
here we go.
And
red flags.
Not being considerate, because once you enter a courtship, it really is a relationship, and you're committed to learning about the other person and to discovering the other person, and you just have to really consider them when you're making decisions.
Right. You have to come into agreement. And it has to be something you can both agree on without one person feeling like I was not considered or my viewpoint was kind of fell by the wayside. So it's so much similar to what we've shared before, but I like that because it can show up in other ways too. Like, just going ahead and doing anything and not considering the other person. Well, I just want to hang out with my friends, or, I didn't call you first because I just had spur of the moment, whatever it is. And that's not considerate of the person you're saying you're thinking about getting married to.
Right. So it could be something like doing something without communicating. Like they're going out with their boys, or just doing something, or just going off for the weekend and not telling the other person. It's not like you can't do those things, but just communicate those things.
That's right.
It's fine to still do things with your friends. It's fine still to, your girls go with their girlfriends, or boys do something.
And they should.
Boys' night out. You still can do that, but just communicate to the other person. Just let them know what's going on.
Oh, yes, and it's great practice for marriage.
It's great practice for marriage.
It's really great. All these things actually will carry over into marriage if you're resolving them at this phase. It helps so much.
Right. Our third red flag this week is they act differently based on the situation.
Yes.
So,
wow.
in one group of friends, they may act pretty worldly, and there's language and actions and this behavior that they don't exhibit when they're with the singles group.
Oh,
right. It's just different.
When with the church group,
and just acting differently, and you just need to be honest, and that's a red flag if if you're dating someone and I guess male or female, they can act differently. It doesn't have to be the males. I bring that viewpoint up because I'm a male, but it can be the girl acting also differently based on the friends, her family versus her work friends versus her Christian friends. If they're acting differently, using different type of language or different behavior,
or dressing different. Oh, yes.
That is a red flag.
And it's a red flag, and those are things you need to know because it may be a deal breaker. Because this person is changing on the outside who they seem to be, depending on who
so
they're with.
So the question is, who are they?
Yes, who is that person really? Exactly.
Are they more like the worldly person, and or more like the sanctified person? And no one's 100%.
Right.
And
right.
we're all growing, so there's some grace in that, but that needs to be talked about.
Yes.
Hey, I
yes.
noticed that when you're with these people, you do this, and that's a lifestyle that
right.
we're not agreeing with
exactly
as being a healthy behavior, and they just may need to be too mature in that area, and that means you just wait. Right.
That's good. Yes. Yeah. They might be willing to change once you've addressed it and say, this is concerning me, that you're acting differently with your family or with your friends or when you're outside of our church family and friends.
Right. So we're not going to fix you after we get married.
No.
We're not going to fix after we get married. We're going to fix it now.
If
it's not fixed and it's something they're not willing to do, then that's a red flag.
That's a red flag.
And you have to decide.
Yes.
You have to decide if that's a deal breaker or not. You just have to decide.
Exactly. Wow. That's so good. I think that's why I didn't continue dating a lot of people in my younger days. They acted differently depending on who they're with. I can say I've seen that, and it's very discouraging because, like you said, I didn't really know which one was the real person.
Right.
You don't know. Like, if you're just pretending around me and then you're really like this other person with these other people, then that's not somebody I want to keep spending time with and get involved with. Exactly. So, wow, this is a biggie. And because of number 3, this could be actually happening. Someone who sees other people secretly.
Red flag.
Wow,
if you're in a courtship relationship, you're not married. You're not under the covenant of marriage. But this is a person that you're dedicated yourself to seek God with. Seek God's will to see if it's God's will for you to be married. So if you're seeing other people secretly, then you're really not dedicated to find out if it's God's will for you and this person to be married or not. So if you're still dating other people, if the girl's still seeing other boyfriends or the boy's still seeing old girlfriends, that is a red flag, and especially
a big red flag.
Secretly.
Especially, yes, if it's secretly.
Even if it's not secret, that should be a red flag.
It should be a red flag because that's not courtship, right? It just completely defies the whole meaning of it. And, it could be that person has close friendships with people they've worked with for a long time, but they don't need to be alone with that person if it's, a man spending time alone, like after work with this woman that he knows from work. That's not okay because it's not the right conditions. It's not the right safeguards if you're actually saying you're seriously dating.
I use this illustration a lot when I was teaching the youth in detention center about being 100% sold out to God. Let's say you were going to marry a girl, and she says, "Oh, I'm going to love you. I'm going to love you. I'm going to be dedicated. You're going to be my man. One day a year, I want to see my old boyfriend."
Oh, no.
I said, "How many of you guys would marry that girl?" And they were all like, "No." It's 100%. You're not in the covenant of a marriage. It's still you're dedicated to each other, and your part of your integrity walk is that you're going to only. That other person is the only one in your life. Let's talk about codependency, Teresa. This is a red flag. We found in Galatians 5:1, Christ has liberated us to be free. Stand firm then and don't submit again to the yoke of slavery. And that's the HCSB. Well, that's really talking about those who have been redeemed by Christ, not being yoked again by the bounds of the law. But let's take it to apply it to a relationship. If you are free, but you're in a codependency relationship, that means you're enabling someone else to be yoked, to be not yoked in a good way, but under the chains of some kind of substance abuse
Right.
or something.
Right.
Do you have a good definition
I
of
found a good
codependency?
definition. It's from Webster's Dictionary. It says codependency is a psychological condition or a relationship in which a person manifesting low self-esteem, so this is a bad recipe already, and a strong desire for approval has an unhealthy attachment to another person, and this person is often controlling or manipulative. So you see one person feeling so low about themselves and wanting approval from somebody. I used to be that person, so I know what this is about. And they get attached to another person that seems strong because they're kind of overbearing, controlling. They even like to manipulate your life, manipulate everything, going on, make choices for you, make decisions for you. And this usually, the manipulative, controlling person is someone who is abusing some kind of substance. Alcohol, drugs, those are huge, huge red flags.
Right. It also could be, I think the majority of the situations I've seen, it's been alcohol abuse, or it could be drug abuse.
It can be.
It could be financial abuse.
Just any addictive behavior.
So the red flag that we came up with is someone's always needing to vent or dumping on you all the time.
Right.
Or always needing more from you.
Yeah, that would be the other side of it. The person with the low self-esteem, always, I need, make me feel good about myself and keep telling me good things about myself.
So the person with low self-esteem, they feel good about themselves because they think they're helping someone.
You feel like you're helping that person that's controlling and manipulative, and they seem to be strong and everything, but you think you're helping them. But you're actually helping them to stay addicted. You're helping them to stay in that condition.
You're helping them stay as a slave to that substance abuse.
Yes. And you're a slave to that substance abuse too.
And you're removing all consequence. They're not having to face the consequence of their actions or their behavior because you are enabling them
to
just continue.
Kind of making it all work out okay, making them comfortable in that unhealthy lifestyle.
Wow.
And it's more common than you realize when you start looking at people in relationships and you look for those telltale signs. You say, wow, there are a lot more people in codependent relationships than we thought. It's really sad.
Wow. You can listen to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and Amazon Podcasts. Please leave us a review. You can watch this podcast on YouTube. Search for the Inspiring Marriages channel. You can even listen to our podcast on your smart device. Just say, Alexa, play the Inspiring Marriage podcast.
That's right. We have to be careful about that in our house because she'll start playing it. We have Alexa in our
So I know we're going long today, but that's okay. We want to continue our story, and we're going. So we have finished on August 24th was our second date, and we went to Atlanta for the Zoom at Stephen Curtis Chapman concert. But the next major event was the next weekend, which happened to be Labor Day weekend. And what did we do on that Saturday, Teresa? Do you remember?
Yes, we actually bring this memory up kind of often because it was just so special. I don't know why, but I've always liked Chinese food. I think you've always liked it, but to me it was like, besides Italian, one of my favorite things. And we just wanted to take a drive up to Atlanta and go to a Chinese restaurant that happened to be near a theater, and it was a certain mall area that we liked, and there were a lot of fun things to do around there, but that's mainly what we went for, was going to a Chinese restaurant and going to see Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. So that dates it right there.
1991, Robin Hood, Kevin Costner and Morgan Freeman. Alan Rickman was the best thing of that movie. It's pretty bad.
Was so bad.
It's a pretty bad movie.
He was a villain.
But Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves came out in 1991, and we went and watched it in Atlanta, Phillips Tower, I think. And mall we went to was Lenox Square, which is a large mall. And we found a Chinese restaurant. We just enjoyed our lunch there, and we just spent the day. We just want to spend a day. I think we walked around the mall. We're just talking and just talking to each other and just spending the day. Just a sweet day. Now the next day, which would have been a Sunday,
right?
Your church, New Wine Christian Fellowship, was having like a family day at a private water park type place. It was basically a lake. Right. A private lake. They had, just picnic area and pavilions and stuff.
Right.
And you invited me to spend the day, Sunday afternoon, with your church family.
Yes, that was so fun. I think it was just to have fun together and have fellowship and eat together and enjoy the lake. So, I don't think we did any water sports or anything, but we enjoyed talking, and you got to be around the church family.
And I already knew
such sweet people.
I've been to your church before, so I already knew the wonderful pastor Jim Denny, sweet man of God, and his family. But I got to meet some people in your church I didn't know, Randy and Vicky, and some other people. I already knew Dawson and some other people.
There were a lot of young families and some singles going to that church, and it was a great time. Yeah, we just remember that. It was a really nice day. And, thinking about these activities, with the red flag things we were talking about, when you have something to do, you have some goals, like how you're going to spend your time together, it really helps you to have quality time together without getting into those danger zones like we were talking earlier, pushing boundaries and things. It really helps you have quality time together and have fun. But you've got some safeguards in place. You're out in public places. You're around other people, groups of people. That helps a lot.
Yeah, I think really we went back to my house, and I think we just went for a walk. Just enjoyed walking around the neighborhood.
Right.
Just spending time talking, which is a great thing to do when you're in a courtship relationship.
Yes.
You're just learning more about each other.
That's exactly right.
So then the Monday would have been Labor Day, and I had invited my family, my mom and dad and my sister and my brother and his wife, to come spend the day at my house. We're going to have a cookout. And of course, Teresa was invited, and I was really introducing her to my family. And there's the first girl I ever introduced to my family.
That's great. I feel honored. I think I did then. And I was a little bit nervous, I think, about meeting your family. But I was so blessed to meet them and get to know them, start getting to know them. Well, I had met your younger sister before.
I took her to one of our youth getaways to a Amish community.
Yes, that was a great
Amish community.
trip.
Yes, just do fun things together. And, you had met her there before. And so my mom was playing basketball in the yard. Yes. I had a basketball going. She was playing basketball. My mom played basketball in high school. And,
she was amazing because she's not a tall person.
She's 5'2". She was 5'2" at the time, or maybe she was 5'2" at her tallest. Don't know how tall she is now, but
she was
enjoying it, and so they were kind of shocked that I had a girl.
Oh.
I was holding her hand on the couch. We were watching TV or something after the cookout. But Teresa had
a fun day.
I think you prepared salad. You brought a salad down.
I'm pretty sure I did.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Teresa brought a salad.
On my vegetarian days.
And I probably cooked steak or hamburgers or something like that. But it was just a fun day. Just fun, just building our friendships. And we were. So this was in the end of the second week of our courtship, really. And so it was, we were really coming into the realization if we were, it was God's will for us to be married or not. And it was pretty much on the affirmative, but we're just kind of filling each other out and just, I didn't want to assume and go faster than Teresa was able to.
That's right.
To go. because it's really important that you go at the same pace. You know,
That's good,
once someone's
yes.
really, and normally I'm not really that forceful. I know I look like a great manly man I am, and I look very forceful, but I'm really not that forceful. But this, I was kind of leading the way on this relationship, but not going too fast that Teresa be overwhelmed.
Right.
I think
That's right.
I think just a few days before that, I may have told you that I loved you, but you weren't able to say it back.
No.
But
You're right.
But that day you did.
On Labor Day.
Labor Day you did.
Oh, that's so good. I'm glad you remembered that, because that was a big step for me, for sure, during that time.
Well, I'm so honored that you trusted me enough.
Oh, yes.
That you could actually say, because it wasn't "I love you." Oh, I love you too. It was no. She really had to. She had to really mean it.
Right.
That and she meant me, that she loved me more than she had loved me before as a brother, and that she was really entering into a different type of relationship, was entering a different level.
Right. Exactly.
It really was.
That's good. I'm glad you explained that. That's really helpful. And right, what we've said from the beginning, how God was changing our relationship from friendship into this courtship phase. It was like He was adding that layer of the discovery and dating and romance on top of that foundation of friendship. So there was no slippery slope there. It wasn't an anxiety-producing thing. It was just that we were being cautious with one another and considerate of one another, and not trying to rush the process. You know, at least we could say that
Right.
at the time. But, our timetable looks different than a lot of people do, whether they're dating or engaged or getting married. So, don't be shocked when we tell you how long we were dating down the road. But we really were trying to be very careful, in a good way, not fearful, but
Right.
considering one another and listening to the Lord the whole time, and only taking steps as He was directing us.
That's right. And so we were following the leading of the Holy Spirit. We really were, the best that we could, and not try to get too far ahead or
Right.
or behind.
That's right, or behind.
Because you can't be too cautious.
Right.
But
to where you never.
right. So that's why we talked. This is important. There's healing in the right relationships.
That's right.
So even in that short time, there was healing that needed to come to Teresa's heart. The Lord wanted to minister healing to her heart, considering those past relationships,
right,
or even romantic or otherwise, that she needed healing in some areas. That's why she couldn't say "I love you" right away, because
right.
she'd been hurt.
Exactly.
And so, your part when you're interacting in a courtship relationship with someone else, is to minister the healing of the Lord to them, because the Spirit of the Lord will come in and just make things like it never happened before, and restore,
yes,
and renew, and just bring a lightness to you that it should not be a, if someone says "I love you," it shouldn't. You shouldn't have
be a burden.
It shouldn't be a burden, and it should not be
now I gotta live up to that.
any kind of darkness or
Exactly.
pressure. And so, same with me. You minister healing to me, dealing with some things in the past, and you minister the love of the Lord to me, so that I could trust you and open up to you.
And yes, to open up, right.
So it wasn't a when I told her that I loved her, it wasn't frivolous. It wasn't like I love pizza, or I love chocolate, or I love Dr. Pepper, or love the Braves. It was, from my heart, from my innermost heart, I love you, and I treasure you, and you are the most valuable person to me. Right. That's what that conveyed. And so when she was able to it wasn't long between. It was like a couple of days that she was able to respond.
Guess I had to ponder that some more.
She had to ponder on it.
Things
Guys,
pondering in my heart.
Here's the tip for the guys. Your lady will ponder on things.
We think about things deeply. And got to sort it out, and emotions.
Because they are so in tune with their emotions. They're just amazing.
And
women are so in tune with their emotions. They have to work those things out.
Always evaluating relationships.
Sure. You have to get through that. But it wasn't long. It wasn't like it was weeks and weeks and weeks. It was like a couple of days.
Just leave you hanging, right? But what I knew was coming through you was the love of God. It wasn't just, I'm passionate for you, or I love you because I need you to love me back, or I need something from you. It was real agape love and the love of God coming through what you were saying to me and how you were acting, and like I said, not pushing me into something I wasn't ready for. I knew that was God's love in you, and that is the best way to know that you are in a right relationship, whether it's just friends or it is courtship and engagement and getting into a marriage where the love of God is being shared between the two of you. That is so powerful. So it should make you step back and say, I don't want to be frivolous. I don't want to say words just to say words because it's expected of me, or act a certain way because this is how people act when they date.
Yeah, it's not, I love you. I know that. You know where that's from. You know where that's from.
Get that reference.
Everyone knows that reference by now. But, right. So that's important. That is so important to be able to it goes back to integrity.
It does. It goes back to integrity.
Yeah. So it would have been wrong for Teresa to respond with "I love you too" if it wasn't really true.
Right.
That would have been dishonest.
It would have been dishonest. Wow, that's great. I feel better about that already.
Oh, I didn't feel bad about it because I knew.
That's good.
I knew that it wouldn't. We wouldn't progress very far more further if there was no love there. So
exactly,
just had to wait. Just minister. Does this show you the love of the Lord that you can trust me, because you were in relationships where you could not trust the other person.
Right.
They were trying to push the physical boundaries, or they were being untruthful,
right,
or there was a codependency,
or it was codependent relationship.
So the friendship builder this week, and again, if you sign up right now for our Connect with Us, you get a friendship builders, and this week's friendship builder, Teresa, what is it?
Oh, we've been doing this. I wish we had done it sooner, but of course there weren't podcasts when we were first married. But subscribe to a marriage podcast and listen to it at a time when you can both listen to it together.
Yeah, you can listen to it in the morning together, if that works out for you, or if you get at the evening before you go to bed, you can listen to it, or you can listen to it when you're out driving around. You can download it to your phone and just listen to it as you're driving around. Try to do maybe 1 week or something like that, something that you can do now. In addition to this podcast, which you should be listening to every week, these are some of our favorite podcasts. The Jimmy Evans podcast. It used to be Marriage Today. Now it's XO Marriage.
XO Marriage.
And we'll include a link to that in our show notes. There is a couple now they're in Lubbock, Texas, Trey and Lee Morgan. We love them. It's called the Stronger Marriage Podcast.
Yes, they're just very down to earth.
And they're very down to earth. And usually they'll go over a list of things, like lists that wives find annoying about their husbands, or wish their husband knew about them, and they go through the list. It's very clever, and it's very good. And
it's very good.
They do a great job. And there's another one that we like a lot. It's by Dave and Ashley Willis. It's called the Naked Marriage Podcast. Right. It's about open
Right,
intimacy,
being very open and honest.
Open and honest, and they cover a wide variety of topics. And they have hundreds of podcasts out there to listen to.
Right.
And they're just great. They really are.
Yeah, and these are friendship builders for married couples because some of the material they'll get into in marriage podcast is not suitable if you're just dating or courtship or engagement phase. You don't need to get too deep into the marriage topics at that time. So these are for those who are married.
Right.
But yeah, talk about these because you'll learn things and get inspiration and ideas that you wouldn't have had on your own, and things you may not have experienced in your marriage so far. And you can hear people talk about things they've learned and things they've done that just enrich their marriage and enrich their lives and ways to have fun together.
That's right.
It's always inspiring.
Now, you can connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Please like, follow, or subscribe. You can also connect with us via email at inspiringmarriages@att.net. You can leave questions and comments and suggestions on show topics or just any way that you can think of to make this podcast better. And so we have links on, at the show notes, you'll see links on Facebook, Instagram, and our YouTube link. So until next time, remember, husband and wife are friends for life.